guys, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new to the channel, please do to click the subscribe button. So in today's video we're just going to be looking at inequalities. So it's basically an introduction to inequalities. We are going to just point out the common symbols in inequalities for those, if it's your first time looking into inequalities. This is the right video for you. So it gives you the background of inequalities. Okay, so let's jump right into it. The first thing that we have to understand is there are some notations. Okay, that's the number one. So the notation, like common symbols in inequalities. So the first symbol that we have, you see it shown like this. Let's see, this is number one. Okay, and that sign simply represents not equal to, right? And then the second symbol that we have greater than. Okay, this is greater. It's a greater than sign. Okay, then we also have a third symbol that goes like this. Okay, which simply shows it's a lesser than sign, right? Then the other symbol that we also have, like the fourth symbol, is when we have a greater than, then we have a line below it. It's greater than or equal to. Okay, then the fifth is less than. We have a lesser than sign in the stroke at the bottom. That's lesser than or equal to. Okay, so these are the common symbols that you find in inequalities. Like, this is the base of inequalities, right? That's number one. And the second thing is the next thing will be for us to understand that in inequalities we have linear inequalities that have one variable, right? So, and the second one is linear inequalities that is two variables. So number one, okay, with one variable. So an inequality is generally like an equation. If you look at the previous videos, we were looking at equations, right? So if a linear inequality has one variable, for instance, you can be given something like 2x is greater than 15, let's say, minus x. Okay, that can be an example for one variable inequality. Then the second type of an inequality that has two variables. Okay, that's in this scenario where you have y, let's say, is less than 5 minus 2x. Okay, so we have two types of linear inequalities where it is one variable and the other is two variables. Okay, yeah, so basically that's the introduction to inequalities. So with this one variable inequality, you may be asked in typical exam questions, you may be asked to like illustrate the inequality on a number line. Okay, so we can have an example on that. We can have an example on that. So yeah, basically this is the basics of inequalities. And the other thing before I forgot, like when you're dealing with the one variable inequality, right? The linear inequality with one variable, it is just treated as the same way that we treat equations. Like, for instance, let's try to solve, let's say like we want to solve for this inequality, so that we mean with x is the yeah, is subject of formula, something like that. So when solving, and you just solve it the same way that you do with the linear equations, but the only difference now with inequalities is that whenever you are dealing with inequalities, for instance, you have an example where you have minus 2x is greater than let's say 14, right? And we just want to make our x the subject of formula. If you are going to treat this, like, you're definitely just going to divide by -2 by -2. But point to note is that your answer, okay, let me just make space for this part. Your answer here, you have x is it will say x is greater than -7, but this is not the answer. You have to change the sign because you divided with a negative. That's the only difference with equations, because you divided with a negative number, so it becomes x is less than -7. That's the only difference. Like, when you are dealing with one variable linear equation inequalities, whenever you divide with a negative number, you change the sign. Otherwise, everything is the same. Okay, guys, I guess that's the introduction to inequalities. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share this video if you want to see the next video, where we'll be doing some typical exam questions in terms of inequalities. Like, that's the next video that we're gonna post. It will be looking into that. Otherwise, for now, thank you, and don't forget to like, to comment, to share, and to subscribe. Thank you, guys.